So, Dr. Granpeesheh, our first guest on the Who's Fabulous show, who's been fabulous for more than 20 years, is an amazing young woman. And I'm going to have you, and she is very young, but been working in this field for over 2 decades, which again is a conundrum. I think that working with kiddos is what keeps you guys all looking so young, is the thing. So why don't you tell us a little bit about our fabulous Denise Rhine?
Denise Rhine. I can't wait for her to join us. Denise is, Shannon, as the years have gone by and there are more and more people who join the senior club because the 20 years passes, then I feel like there's a group of people who are from the original senior club. So Denise would be one of those. And those folks are the people who are the closest to me, I guess, because at some point or another, I was their direct supervisor, worked with them directly. Now, Denise is a special education itinerant teacher. She is in our Fairport office, Rochester, New York, Northern New York. She used to actually work out of our New York office, and she can tell us a little bit more about all of that, but she has had so many different roles at CARD and has always contributed in a million different ways. And one of the major ways that she contributes right now is that she deals with all of our continuing education requirements for all of our board certified behavior analysts. Denise was actually a BCBA pretty early on as well herself, and she carried and managed a lot of the work that we do in New York, both in Manhattan as well as the northern part of New York. And she is a dear, dear friend and colleague to me, and I'm very, very excited to have her on our show. So
let's welcome her, Denise.
Hi.
She is.
And 25 years, 2 months, and 3 days, by the way.
Oh my God. See, that's what I mean, Shannon. And good Lord, Denise, you seriously have not changed at all. My God.
Oh, how nice of you to say. Thank you. Thank you.
So can you tell us kind of your journey? What brought you to CARD? Let our viewers hear all the stories.
Oh, sure. So I was going to school for elementary education in New York, and summers I worked at an agency in New York, and I found autism my freshman summer of college. And it was from then I needed to do anything I could in that field. So I was going for elementary ed. My school didn't have special education, but I did all of my papers and everything on autism specifically. My professors were very confused. By the way, I didn't do very well in the class that was for ABA. I actually had to take that twice. My professor told me to get out of the psychology field, but here I am. So then I graduated, moved around a little bit, and came down to New York, and I had to make a decision on what I was going to do with my life, because I kind of didn't want to teach anymore. And then I found CARD, and I said, this is what I have to do. I started off as a therapist in the Hartsdale office down in New York, and then soon started traveling and helping people with workshops in the Canada area and some of the other states in New York. And then I opened the Rochester office, the Fairport, New York office in 1999. And then I moved into the training department, and I've been mentoring our clinical supervisors, our new BCBAs coming to the company for quite some time now, as well as assisting with all the continuing ed credits that you were talking about before. So
that's amazing. And Shannon, I don't know, Denise, are we still in the same site in Fairport, or have you moved? Have they moved? We are.
You're in the same building, just we moved to a bigger space.
Okay. Shannon, have you ever been to that location?
No. So here's the funny thing. All I want to do is to go to that location. And there have been many times that in fact, there was a time when because I used to teach in upstate New York, teach college, and I've had the opportunity to go back and teach a couple of times. And I'm always like, I'm gonna go and be there. In fact, there was a period of time where we were 2 years into intervention here in Los Angeles, and it looked like there was the potential of a teaching job back in upstate New York for me. So we were talking about moving. And I don't know if you remember this, Denise, but I called and said, should we do this? And you said, I believe it was you, I'm almost 100% positive it's you, that said to me, your kiddo is doing well. Unless you absolutely have to dig in, stay there, fight for your program, do your 40 hours and get it done. And we did. Otherwise, I would probably be living very close to you, but not have, and because who knew back then, you were very honest with me and said New York did not have the funding, that I was going to be giving up a whole lot of things. Plus I was going to deal with snow getting to the center. And you told me, look, we have a great place here, but you're already someplace, and if you don't have to leave. But since that time, there've been many times when I've said, look, I want to come to the Rochester office. I want to be there. That's like old stomping ground for me.
You need to come out.
I know. And I've never, and something always happens, Doreen, something always happens where that's the thing. I get moved to go someplace else or whatever, but I have lots of friends and family in that area. And I every once in a while, somebody will call me. For a while, we were running a commercial that my husband and I were speaking on, a radio commercial. And people from Rochester would call me and go, is that you on the radio? Yes. But I've never actually been in the office. We've talked about me coming and doing something with your baseball team that's there during April.
Yeah,
like it just doesn't. It's like it's cursed. Every time I go to come, there's a snowstorm or there's something. It just doesn't happen. But I want to in the worst way.
Yeah.
We need to have the number. Oh, I'm sorry. Just want to say we need to have the host of the #1 autism podcast here. We have to have that.
I want to come.
So I have a lot of really, really good memories of that location, mainly because Denise used to just run it perfectly in my mind. And I have to say, so first of all, you went into that clinic and there was a whole wall which was like handprints or pictures that kids had done. So it was very, right off the bat, it was like a very welcoming location, and it was all about the kids. Denise was the first, and I want to say probably only, card clinic where she brought in and developed an entire speech department. So we had speech therapists who were also providing help for our kids out of that location. And that to me was a fantastic thing, a win-win. And unfortunately, this was before there was adequate funding, especially for speech. But it is one of those things that I've always kept in my mind and thought this is something we need to do, because I think Denise was able to establish a really collaborative relationship between the ABA supervisors and the speech pathologists who worked there. And so that was a wonderful thing. The other thing I want to say is that Denise had established the most incredible collaborative relationship with the school districts and the entire education resources in northern New York. And in fact, to the point where they would come to luncheons that she would hold, and we would have the opportunity to tell them all about our kids and what they're doing. They even like co-sponsored a conference that we did up there. There was a huge involvement with the districts, and also there's so many things that come to mind.
Oh my!
And also, I mean, we did a lot of different types of things. It was almost like that center was one of the sites, because Denise was there. We could pilot a lot of different ideas. And another thing was that, as you mentioned, the baseball team there, but we had really good PR with the entire community. There were lots and lots of events that Denise's folks were always involved with. So they were recruiting good therapists. I knew when I go to a site, or when I used to go to these sites, and I would I can have a conversation with all the employees, the BTs, you always had a real clear feeling of who is happy or who's really in, right? And I always had a very, very warm feeling from all the BTs, the behavior technicians, which meant that it wasn't like an event they had put together for me. It was that they were genuinely happy. They were genuinely loving the kids they worked with. They were genuinely dedicated to the work we do. And that's, I think, all a reflection of you, Denise. Oh. And it really is. I mean, I even remember one time coming out to do a training with your staff, and we did like games all day long with your staff, and it was the funnest day ever. But they were so happy in their positions, and Shannon, as you know, having happy behavior techs and supervisors just makes all the difference.
I can remember that when we would come into the R card office for my son's therapy and for clinics, that there were always these newsletters that were from the Fairport office. And I was like, look at this. This is so amazing. I think that's part of the reason why we were, look what they have going on there. We didn't have a newsletter at that point at our center, but I think that newsletters became a thing at all of the centers because yours was so good.
Yeah.
It was such a good thing for the family.
The best. I remember that too.
I've always had great staff underneath me when I was running the Fairport office. Very dedicated. Lisa Schrader, who's now an RM, and Katie DiRamundo, who does like everything in operations around. I've always had really, really great staff that are super dedicated, and a lot that aren't with us any longer, but super dedicated to CARD, to me, to the mission, to our kids, to our families. It's just been wonderful.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned those folks, because they really are some talented people. But I think, Denise, you had a lot to do with that too. Not to take away from the fact that both of the folks, Lisa and Katie, are some of my favorite people in the company. But I think you have a lot to do with grooming them and kind of keeping them around and helping them go through a lot of hardship, because I know things have changed and have not always been easy, and those folks have great resilience and great dedication, and I think you're a big part of that as well. Not to mention, Shannon, it's not an easy job keeping our continuing education certificates in place and approved by the board. And Denise manages to kind of pull us out of the mud every time we do something wrong there. So thank you for that as well. We appreciate that. I want to thank you, Denise. It's been not just on behalf of CARD, obviously, and all the hundreds of kids that you've helped, hundreds of BCBAs that you've taught, but also I'm thanking you personally as well, because it's been just a very heartwarming and comforting feeling, knowing that you're on the other side of the country and holding up our boat, or our ship now. And I love you. It's been a joy seeing our kids grow up together, and we've been through lots and lots of phases of life, and it's all been fun. Thank you. And I just think you're an incredible value to CARD and to the field of autism. And I hope you remember and recognize that, because the reason we're doing this show is because I want you and the other few folks who have been here so long to understand, we all kind of fall under this umbrella called CARD, but each of you have made such significant contributions to making that umbrella. And you're a big part of that, and I want you to always remember that. Thank you.
Thank you. You're the center post of that umbrella, Doreen. I mean, I wouldn't still be here if it wasn't for you and what you created and have allowed us to do. It's just been absolutely amazing. And yes, absolutely, our kids growing up a few days apart and all of that, it's just been amazing. As a leader, as a friend, I thank you.
Love you.
Love you too.
Thank you, Denise. On behalf of the families, thank you so much. And you have a beautiful, blessed day.
You as well. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching Autism Live. If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.